Coming up, the first national training camp has occurred for 2024 and it's been split. Why is there a separation between juniors and the senior teams? Is this good or is it bad? What is the Senior Team Event World Championships? And we go through the necessary preparations for both World Championships, junior and senior teams. All of that follows after our talented friend, Good Fortune.
Nailed it.
I think you're up next, John.
Yeah.
I think next episode, I think you need to do it.
I think I did play the triangle once. They're similar enough.
It's the same thing.
Well, there you go. I've got big expectations now.
I'll bring a real live one.
Can you bring
it? Actually do it. I want to see that.
Maybe not next episode.
Yeah.
It's going to take me a month to
because it won't be recorded, but everybody will see it.
Yeah. So good. Welcome back to the Kaizen Culture Pod, where we're keeping the conversation moving within Australian karate. If you're hearing this, you obviously already know where to find your podcasts in Apple or Spotify, but you can also watch this over on YouTube. So head to our channel over there to look at our amazing faces, chat. As always, please let us know your thoughts and opinions and anything you would like us to chat about. Send an email to kaizenculture.info@gmail.com and even sign up to our mailing list on our website, kaizenculture.org.
Yeah, especially for the questions that you can send to our emailing list. If you want to hear us talk about anything, send that through because we want to know what does Australia want to hear from our future episodes. And then sign up to our email list because we're going to do a welcome. Well, currently, there's a welcome email in place and it will tell you all of our plans for 2024. And we're going to say it time and time again. We're focusing on engagement this year. So we're going to spoil all our little secrets that we're going to provide the Australian karate community. So go there.
Sweet.
Sign up.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited for what we're going to do this year. It's all lined up nicely. And it's going to be sweet. Engagement, hey?
Also, something I wanted to say is thank you for the guys who are supporting us so far. Like our stats have been pretty nice. I've liked to see how many people are listening to this, how many people are watching this. So, and
the feedback has been awesome as well. We've been receiving so many messages about oh yeah, this is good. Talk about this, chat about this. So far it's been wicked. So we just can't thank you enough for jumping on board with us.
Keep that conversation moving.
Definitely appreciate it. I think, like you were saying, there's some exciting new things coming along. So if, you're already listening to us, then you probably won't mind a little bit more.
Hell yeah.
And that's an understatement.
Yeah.
A lot more.
World karate is completely flipped on its head this year. It is completely different than we've seen for the history of karate. So it's really exciting what's happening this year.
Well, I mean,
we're going to talk about it now.
Yeah. Well, the start of the year, we had our national training camp. I don't think we've had a national training camp for a while, but usually it's been all together at the start of the year. But this year it was split into two. So the same weekend, but one was in Perth and one was in Melbourne. And some people were a bit confused about that, and I can understand why. But it was event specific. So that means the one in Perth was dedicated to the Senior Team World Championships, and the one in Melbourne was pretty much dedicated to the Cadet, Junior, and Under-21 World Championships. So anyone that was wanting to be selected for that event, trying to get a spot for the team event, was sent over to those respective camps, and it was really, really event specific. So not just for the whole squad. Some people will see this as a bit of a bad thing. Some people would love it. Personally, I love it because it's, we've been wanting a concentrated camp for a long time. Oh my gosh. I can't leave that. I'm so sorry. I can't leave that. I'm so sorry that I've said that. And
that didn't just happen.
I can't believe.
Very specific.
Did you flag that before?
No. Let's just move on. Anyway, okay.
Very specific camp. But I think it was important they were specific, right? Like, it's not just a split in junior. Well, Mitch gathers himself. I'll take over.
Please.
It's not just a split in juniors, seniors. It's an even event specific. One of the events is now a team world championship. And so I think getting the ability to cater towards a team event, put a team together, it's pretty rare that you're not going to just represent, obviously, Australia, but in an individual event. You're now going as part of a team. There's a whole different concept behind that, both in terms of preparation, but who you're fighting for or doing kata for, and the psychology behind that and working together, I imagine, would be quite different. Did you feel that in the camp?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a new one now this year. The World Championships historically has been senior, team and individual all in one, but now it's been split, and we're going to talk about that in our later on in this podcast episode. But this one now, it's been split up into individuals and teams as a separate event. So this year is the first team event World Championships, and so that calls for a separate camp dedicated to the teams. And yeah, this one last few weeks ago was really, really focused on teamwork and creating that synergy between their squad and fighting for something more than just your individual goals and really coming together as a team. And I felt like over the weekend we really built up on those values, and it was so great to see everyone buy into that energy. It was wicked. I mean, Nathan, you were there for a little bit.
Yeah, I came for a couple of days and just watched on, and yeah, I got to chat to the coaches. Mark Golding is our head kumite coach, and then Marco Mazzanti is our chair of the coaching commission. So, and both of them were saying how much easier it was to cater a training camp specific to a team world championship, because usually you've got, as you said, you've got the individual and the team together, and the team is sort of like an afterthought to the individual, because everybody, that's how you compete throughout the year. You compete at Oz Open, you compete at nationals as an individual, and that's your epitome of karate, is the senior world championships individual. And the team was sort of like, whatever individuals are over there, we'll make a team out of them and we'll compete with that team. But this one, the whole team is going over to compete in one event, which is, it's amazing to see. And they were like, the main thing we want to work on during this camp is teamwork, it's team cohesion. So I'm excited to see that not only at the World Championships at the end of the year, but the Oceania Championships, because that's the first step. That's on the road to the World Championships. You've got to win that first.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's how we qualify. And that's a pretty big event that we've all turned our attention to. We are competing there individually at the Australian Open, and at the Oceania we have our individual categories. But for some reason, on my mind, it's all about that team, because, realistically, the Oceania, are you fighting for anything individually besides pride and maybe half the amount of points for next year, the World Championships? But this one matters right now, and this is something we can be a part of. It's the first thing that we can really be a part of. And I just feel that the momentum from last year at the World Championships for both women and the men, I mean, the women got 9th place. And
big.
That's huge. I mean, the momentum from that is insane, and we're pretty lucky that it's almost like it is back-to-back years. So it's perfect time now to really push for that, that result that we really want.
From that point, putting the training camp in there around that time is great as well, right? You're not coming in and trying to just reconnect, reboot in April. It's like you've had that touch base. It's piggybacked off the Great Worlds, and then there's not too much of and then you're back at it again together. Yeah. There must be such a strong feeling in that team.
Yeah, it is awesome. Like, it was pretty special, this camp. I have a pretty good relationship with the coaches and the athletes as well, and we put together this DNA board, and to really bring together our identity. And throughout the weekend, we wrote up a couple of things that we were drawn to, what we felt that aligned with us the most, key moments over the weekend, and mainly just like values and how we like to train and how we see ourselves. And the buy-in from the athletes and even the coaches as well was fantastic. And we came up with a couple of core values and core attitudes that we want to apply to those values, and hopefully we can run with that for the rest of the year, which is sick.
I'd sort of like to put you on the spot here a little bit, Mitch, because I think, like, I know what you guys were discussing, because I was sort of a fly on the wall on that sort of conversation. But I think the Australian karate community would love to know, how do you guys identify yourself leading into this year, into the Oceania Championships and then later the World Championships? What are those key pillars? What are those identity marks?
Yeah, well, I hope the team's all right with me saying this, but it's not like guarded secrets. I don't think.
It shouldn't
Is
be.
it?
And
No.
if it is, blame me.
Yeah. No, it's
good.
yeah, it's not like game plan. It's just the way we see ourselves. So, and the way we like to operate within the four walls. So, yeah, we came up with 3 values: grit, camaraderie, and pride. And then we sort of came up with ways we like to embody those 3 values, which was professionalism and a sense of calm confidence. And so the grit, pretty self-explanatory. All of these is more like the way we like to take it up to the fight and never give up, all of those cliche quotes, but really grinding it out and fighting to the last second, no matter what's the situation or
That's
who.
something I saw a lot of at the World Championships last year. You know, every fighter that went out onto that mat as part of that team event, they had grit. Like they were there and they weren't giving up until the last second. It was amazing to see.
Yeah, I kind of like, when I was talking to the team, I was envisioning like just grinding your teeth and just pushing through anything no matter what. That's that grit that I've got in my mind, and I hopefully that everyone else has got that as well, and I feel like everyone's on the same page.
No doubt.
Yeah. The camaraderie, sort of, once again, self-explanatory. It's the mateship and getting behind your teammates, and you know, the love for being around in a team, and knowing that no matter what the situation is, if you win, you lose, you fail, anything, you've got your mates behind you to support you and have your best interests at heart, because yeah, we love being around each other that much.
Yeah, because a team event, it is, you're going out there as an individual. It's not like a 3-on-3 fight.
Yeah.
You know, it's you go out there and you perform as an individual, but you're doing it for your team. And for the women's, it's a best of 3 matches, and for the men, it's a best of 5. So it's really knowing that you've got a team behind you, win or lose. It's such an important thing. And if you do, you put everything you have out on that mat and you still come up a little bit short during that individual match, there's still somebody next fighting, you know?
You have that
I can
trust.
imagine it like takes the pressure off, but at the same time, having that deep connection gives you the more confidence at the same time. So there's less pressure.
Yeah, for sure.
But you're like, I can actually do this, rather than you're not isolated and going, oh man, can I do this? And if I don't do this, then I put pressure on my team. There's not that, hopefully, that negative thinking. It sounds like it's a very positive, very Australian approach.
It is, yeah. No, we definitely embody that that Australian heart, and I think that ties into the third one, which is the pride, and basically just wearing your heart on your sleeve, bleeding green and gold. You know, being very proud to be an Australian and to fight the Australian way. So those all sort of tie in together as our values, and then the pillars that we operate within those is the professionalism, the way that we operate, and we're very fair, we're very considerate, but we're also, held accountable, within our team. We've got to make sure that we keep ourselves in check and we keep each other in check, and we're all coming to the team with our own responsibilities, and if someone is sort of lacking behind that, we are comfortable to say to one another, hey, you need to pick up the slack, or, but it's in a nice way to make sure that we're all doing on the same path. And then overall, just that calm confidence, which is belief in yourself, and, that we can take it up to anyone. We're as good as anyone on the day. We have the talent, we have the heart, the skill, but it's not getting too ahead of ourselves and not being too cocky and arrogant, but it's just still being confident in the unit that we are. So I really hope that sums us up as a unit, and we can continue this through to Oceania, and then, if all goes well, to the World Championships at the end of the year.
Yeah, and just observing that team camp as well, like seeing all the athletes, that calm confidence is something that they all exhibit. Like everybody is confident that they can perform at, firstly, the Oceania. I think some people might be a bit too confident. But definitely at the World
Was that a little jab?
Maybe.
Yeah, hey.
Hey, it's the first step because we'll talk about it a bit more later on.
Mm.
But the Oceania is cutthroat. There is
Yeah.
one team from the Oceania
You have to win,
region that gets selected to go to Worlds. So the men's team need to win if they want a chance, and so do the women's, and so do the Team Carter. All of this,
It's huge.
It is cutthroat. So
yeah, we'll definitely break that down after our little break. But
It sounds like the senior camp was like really good from getting that. It was the specific really pulled off, and I think it was brave of the AKF to actually do something different, because it's very common you do something different, everyone goes, why didn't we just do it how we always do it?
Yeah.
So it's nice to hear there's good feedback, and hopefully the junior camp was the same.
well, I think that's what it is. It allows the coaches to be more specific with the juniors as well. Cadets, juniors, under 21s, they're going for their biggest event for the year, or their biggest event for a 2-year cycle. You've got your youth leagues and you've got all of that stuff going on, but this is their mecca for karate for them. So it allowed the coaches to really hone in on what they wanted to achieve for those juniors. And from what I heard, every junior that went said it was a fantastic experience.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, it is 2 teams going away at the end of the year. It's not one Australian team going to the same location and competing together. It is the senior team and it is the junior team. So I think splitting it up allows for especially the junior team, for the older ones, especially like the under 21s, to establish a bit of leadership within the group, because they will be the ones who are taking the team over, and you've got to have that leadership within the team separate from the coaches. So I hope that did become a bit established, and it's only going to be more and more throughout the year. Obviously, the teams aren't in concrete; they're not selected yet. But as throughout the year, there'll be natural leaders, and I'm keen to see who those are. And
I think it's so good to allow those 2 areas to flourish. But in saying that, you still need both styles of camps, and I think that's what the other side of the coin is having it split. Does that create separation? In a way, it sort of does. But I think if you still have that other camp where you're all together as a full squad, you're doing that team building stuff, you're all together with not just juniors, seniors, but elite, developmental, all of that, all at once. And that's happening at Australian Open the 2 days after that.
Yeah. So if it would be an issue if there wasn't that
absolutely
additional camp.
Yeah.
If it was only one and it was split, then you're completely segregating the seniors from the juniors, and that's never a good idea, because at the end of the day, the juniors look up to the seniors, and the seniors need to be interacting with those juniors who are coming through the ranks. So having 2 camps this year, the first one that has already been, and the together one after the Australian Open, it's vital.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's great as well that it's straight after the Australian Open. At least when I was doing it, they weren't doing that, and it was like a separate trip. And I think it's so good. Everyone's there for the Australian Open. Or you should be anyway if you're trying to get into the Australian team. And so to be able to just bounce back off that into a camp is fantastic. And then those camps, I remember when I was a junior, you're looking up to the big guys, the senior men and women. How do they train? That's what karate can be like. That's the mentality people can take.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic to have that all in one comp, just exactly for that reason, That's
going to be a huge weekend for Australian karate, because you've got the Oceania just before the Australian Open, then you got the Australian Open, then you got the camp after that.
Mitch is looking tired just thinking about.
It is a
it's going to be a long weekend.
It's going to be a long weekend, but I'd love to see.
It is, yeah. Well, for us West Australians, we got to go over there, not for the Thursday. We got to get there at least on the Tuesday.
Yeah, unless you're catching a red eye on Thursday morning.
I ain't doing that.
Yeah, I booked my flights and I will be on a red eye.
You booked it?
Yeah, on Wednesday night. So I'll be arriving, I think, like 6 a.m. on Thursday, and that's the day of the team Oceania.
Wow.
So,
well, we're going to touch on that after our little break.
Yeah. But I would love to see that environment, that energy around that tournament, because on Anzac Day as well, only one team goes through to the World Championships per division. It's going to be so exciting. So I want to see, as you said, John, all these juniors are going to be looking up to the seniors. I want to see all the juniors there on that Thursday.
Well, and come and see an international comp, right, when you're there for a national one.
Yeah.
Like,
that's so
what
true.
an opportunity.
Man, that's wicked. Yeah, well, I mean, we can't really comment too much about the junior camp because we, first of all, weren't there, and second of all, we are pretty old. But yeah, I think it's great to see that Karate Australia is taking this direction where it's event specific for some camps, and then it's we still have that all inclusive camp. So it's good that we have those two elements to our training camps. But I think we'll take a little short break, and then we'll touch on the both events at the end of the year and the qualifications for both of those. Cool.
Fantastic. Let's
Sounds
do it.
good.
All right, we're back. We're going to go through the structure for the senior team event world championships. We've been talking a little bit about that, and it's a fairly new concept. So, well, it is a new concept.
Yeah,
This
fairly
is the first,
new.
yeah, it's literally the first year that it's going to be a thing. So this is where the senior world championships has been split into individuals and team events. So they're a separate event, and this is the year for the senior team world championships. So, I mean, Nathan, would you like to go through a bit of the structure behind it?
Yeah, I would. So it's really exciting because previously, as you said, it was together. For the team events for the World Championships, it's just been each country has been allowed to enter a team into their event. So we've had, can you remember how many were at Budapest teams?
I have no idea.
Like 90 plus.
A lot.
There were a lot of teams competing, so it was a big ordeal. And you had some teams that probably weren't up to the standard of the World Championships, just because of their access or, for a variety of reasons. But now it's restricted to the top 20 per division for the World Senior Championship. So we've got 4 different team events. We've got the 2 team katas and the 2 team fightings, male and female each. We've got, so 20 teams in total for each of those events. Out of that 20, we've got 4 of the teams are from the last World Championships. There were medaling countries. So first, second, and both thirds. That's the 4 from the last World Championships. You've got 1 for the host country. And then you've got 5 from Europe, because Europe is arguably the most highly competitive continent. And then you've got 3 each from Asia, Pan America, and Africa.
So that's 9.
So
There's 1 left.
Yeah, that's 9, and then 1 for Oceania.
I couldn't count the first episode, so
true.
I've got to try and redeem myself.
Yeah. And then there's something we'll touch closer on towards the World Championship when the countries are sort of decided. But say if you've got, the World Championships is in Spain this year.
Mm-hmm.
If Spain medaled at the last World Championships, then that spot is now up for another country outside of that 20, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But we'll touch on it more once the Europeans is finished, once the Oceania is finished, all of these.
It's interesting they've done the split on the continents, right? And obviously favoring Europe, and then we get 1.
It kind of makes sense, though, to be honest.
Sense.
Like, Europe is one of the strongest continents in karate. So they've got 5 countries, and then the rest for Asia, Africa, and Pan America got 3. And yeah, it's pretty fair that we've got 1. If there's only 20 countries going to each event, to each division, 1 for Oceania is fair. And the way we've got to qualify is winning Oceania team event. So
it's going to be so elite at the end of the year for that World Championships.
Mm.
And then also the structure has changed per event as well. So previously it was just straight up knockout. You only verse 1 team. Now it's a pool system, just like the Premier League tournaments throughout the year. So each team is placed in a pool of, is it 5? Or is it 4?
5.
5.
4 pools of 5.
4 pools of 5.
Sure, yeah, because you've got the world medalists that each split into 4 pools, right?
Yep, correct. So
that's
each pool has a medalist. So there's you can't.
There's no easy pool there, right?
There's no. I mean, it's top 20 countries in the world.
There's
never going to be an easy
never
pool.
Easy.
Yeah. But that means that you get a minimum of 4 matchups. So it's fantastic for the individuals going over. It definitely makes it worth it. There is no go over, lose first round, and then that's it for your championships. You get all 4, and it's the best of those 5 go through to the quarterfinals. Yeah, quarterfinals. and then
Semi-finals.
semi-finals.
Straight to the semis.
Oh, yeah.
Four, yeah.
4 semi-finals, and then 2 versus 2, and the winner of both of those go through
And
the champion of the world
it's
final.
crazy, hey.
yeah.
And it's awesome because they play out all 5 fights. So for the men's, they do the 5 fights, and for the women's, they do all 3.
Oh, so
even
if
if
it
you
was
win
3-0.
even if someone beats you 3-0, you still do the last 2.
Great.
And because comes down to if there was even wins and losses, it actually breaks it down into the matches itself. So regardless if you've beaten a country, you need to have all of the matches won as well.
And that's fantastic for the fighters, right? Going over there knowing like you might be 5th for a round or for a match up, you're still going to get the fight. And that fight, you might be down, but it might make a difference.
100%. So you want to be trying to clean sweep all 5 matches if you can, which is good.
That's Australia's aim. We're going to be clean sweeping.
Oh, every single time,
All 4 matchups, 5 fights.
That's crazy, hey? It's a lot of fights.
Yeah.
But that's the new structure for the World Senior Team Event World Championships.
I'd like to butt in here because it's bugging me and you're going to laugh, but I need to address it. If you say 3 with your fingers, is it 3 in the middle or is it like this?
Well, because I was doing 5
Is it
here,
thumb?
and then like I sometimes do this one.
I always go 3 middle.
Nah, the pinky is hard for me to grab sometimes.
Oh, really?
Sometimes it feels like it's more strain. Look at this.
Yeah.
Do this.
More strain.
Yes. Look at this. I'm like a frog.
International Kumite athlete worried about pinky strain.
No, it's like
Don't
more
get hit in the head,
energy.
mate.
He's too
isn't it?
weak. It can't flex that far. Poor Mitch.
So
Most-
much effort.
Hey, that's why I'm smiling, because it takes less.
So you're with me, John, yeah? 3 middle?
I think I do both, but
You do both?
why
You're
are we
crazy.
thinking about this so much?
It was. I saw Mitch do this.
I want to do
I
3 like this.
I saw
Alright,
Mitch do
Spider-Man.
that, and I was like,
Rock
really?
on.
Yeah, go.
Anywho,
Okay, we can move on. I know
Alright.
we're pressed for time, but that was going to bug me the whole podcast if I didn't address it.
all right. So that's the Senior Team Event World Championships done, and now we're going to talk about the other event of the year. That's the biggest one for us Australians, is the Cadet, Junior, and Under-21 World Championships, which was the selection camp in Melbourne. That was what that was for. It's the same selection process as usual. Taking results from Australian Open, Nationals, and then if it comes necessary, the fight-offs at the end of the year. Hopefully, we're seeing less and less of these, and they're really trying to stick with an athlete for a good period of time, or trusting that this person's going to be that athlete for the year. But same structure as always. It's gonna be a good one, I reckon.
I think it's really tough not to have. Sorry, John. Not to have fight-offs in selection criteria,
Of
because
course.
you do often have those 2 athletes that are neck and neck, and you can only pick one, and it's sort of a flip of a coin which one you pick. So that fight-off just gives you a clear cut. Who's it going to be? I, as a spectator, love watching them. I loved watching them at the national championships. I thought the whole crowd was fantastic behind that matchup. So spectator wise, it's great.
Right.
I get for the competitor, it's so
I never had to do one, but it must be incredibly stressful.
so stressful.
They do it. They've often done it as a best of,
Best of 3.
which I think is a fair way to do it. But it's
It's tough, man, because like realistically, at the end of the day, you're not fighting that person at the World Championships. Do you know what I mean? So
the winner could just be the best of a matchup, right?
exactly.
I think you kind of want it to be where the coaches are literally pulling their hair out on not knowing if they have any. But anyways, not knowing who to pick, right? It's like the 2 people are just so even on paper you can't split it. And I think, like you said, it seems they're trending in that direction of
It's hard for them because even if it's close, they decide to go with one athlete. The other athlete's going to ask why. And if you don't have a clear cut, you lost the fight off, and you have to explain, we feel like this athlete's going to do better at World Championships.
It's
like,
impossible.
how do you say that?
It's impossible to say that.
it's a tough spot to be in. But
Yeah, I'm glad we're not coaches, eh?
I'm glad I'm not a competitor doing fight-offs. I don't know about you, John.
yeah.
Well, hopefully it doesn't come down to too many fight-offs at the end of the year. And selections will be the same for those juniors. We're seeing a lot more juniors now go to youth leagues. I mean, this is being recorded before we know the results from Fajira, but there is 12 young ones competing, or just competed last weekend in Fujairah. So they're clearly knowing what's up. They must have listened to the podcast last week and
Booked some last minute
Yeah.
flights.
Thank you for that.
yeah, taken some advice. No, but
We've already made a difference, guys.
yeah, clearly.
I'd just like to butt in really quick and just a refresher for what the Youth League is. It is under 21 event. It's pretty much like a Series A or a Premier League, but it's only for under 21s. So it's a fantastic event for those juniors. And the fact that we've got 12 going, that is amazing.
That
And
would be right up there for the most we've had.
Oh, I mean, the last time I remember seeing a big team being taken away was someone that was going to UMAG in the last few years, where they actually take a team.
Sure.
But this one, I think this is club-based, club-run. There's a few clubs that I know that have pushed to send some athletes, because I just think that they know that this is what's up, This is the direction they need to head. If they want to contend at the Junior World Championships at the end of the year, this is where they need to be competing. So it's great to see. And we're going to analyse the results from Larnaca, Fujairah and Antalya in a couple of episodes' time, but it'll be good to do all that in one, just so that because we have quite a few Australians competing in all those. So,
and a quick spoiler for those, a lot of the finalists from those tournaments, like the Series A and the Premier League, they've done like 5-6+ youth leagues growing up. So it just shows how vital being on the international stage as a junior is, not just for that Junior World Championships, which is once every 2 years. That's a long time to wait before being exposed to the international stage and who else you're competing against.
And in saying that as well, this can really help your selection. And like, I'm not trying to persuade anyone or anything like that. It's just facts. If you're competing at the international level and you're sort of getting through rounds, and maybe, let's say, you're struggling at a state level or a national level, like, I think that really comes into consideration. Like, I'm not on the selection panel or anything, but just logically that makes sense to me.
It's pretty big to look over someone who was winning matches internationally, right?
So
what we were talking about fight offs, if you know the person you're fighting off against very well, and you might know how to beat them, but you aren't performing on an international stage, whereas they are, then a coach would look at it and say, look, we've got one athlete who's proven themselves on the international stage who we're selecting for, and then one who might be able to beat their opposite rival in Australia just because they've versed so much, but they haven't performed internationally. So I think it's only going to get more important for selection in Australia.
Yeah. No, it's going to be sweet. Is there anything else we want to touch on for this episode? You happy to wrap it up here?
I think I am, yeah.
Yeah, sweet as. I think that's good. As always, please let us know your feedback, ask questions. After all, we are an organisation for you guys. So send us an email at kaizenculture.info@gmail.com, and even sign up to the mailing list at kaizenculture.org. Next episode, we're going to be talking about some crazy stuff.
What is it? I like the plug.
Yeah, it's a bit of,
Mitch?
we're going to be fantasizing a little bit more about more competitions within Australia, how we can compete locally to better our, get better at competing and to try and get a tight-knit sort of unit.
Your pinky was fine then. That was fine then. But that's the question for this episode, right? Is how do you put 3 fingers up?
That's
is
actually
it a thumb,
the greatest question.
or is it 3 fingers?
3 fingers with the middle 3 or with the end 3?
Don't think too hard when you answer. Just
middle 3 or end 3. All
You
right.
want to hear it?
Wicked. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and we'll see you in 2 weeks' time.
Middle 3.
Thanks, boys.